Jeff, let's turn our attention a little bit to the craziness which has been your last couple weeks. Can you take the listener inside what is a day in the life of Jeff Passan leading up to the deadline and then on the deadline day? Like how frenetic is it? What constitutes a day for you that over the last 10 leading up to the deadline?
I'm going to give you the last 36 or so hours, and I'll try and do as concise of a walkthrough as I can because it will show you what not just what the work is, but like what it's like on the human being. And let me preface this by saying I am not digging ditches. I am not working in mines. I am essentially texting people for a living and getting on the phone and talking with people and then going on TV to talk about it and writing about it. I have like the best job in the world, but everyone, even people with the best jobs, it can be stressful sometimes. And so, day before, wake up in the morning. I think I went to bed at 3:30 and I was up at 6:30. And it had been that way for probably the 4 days beforehand. It's just not much sleep this time of year. So you have to know that when you're working on that little sleep, like errors can happen, and you need to be particularly mindful of everything that you're saying, doing, and putting out there in the world. And I got some tips that morning on the relief market, and I'm calling around about that, trying to figure out, okay, is Joan Duran going to go today? Is David Bednar going to go? I heard Camilo Duvall's name. I had heard the night before Mason Miller for the first time really in play, and Buster Olney and I had put together something sort of previewing the last couple of days leading up to the deadline, and I think that was like the first real mention the Padres are going to do something big, and Mason Miller actually might be out there and play. And so felt good about that. Day goes on, and I get the tip on Brian Hayes going to the Reds. I had that news for a while, but he had not been told yet. And when a player has not been told, and I know that he has not been told, I will wait on the news because I feel like these are human beings. And, if I put it out there, chances are Key Brian Hayes does not have my Twitter alerts on his phone, but that someone he knows does. And imagine hearing either via an alert from me or a friend saying, "Hey, did you just get traded?" Like that's a terrible way to learn that your life is going to change. So, as absolute best I can, I try to respect that and hold on to it until I've been told that they know. So, get a couple of breaks that morning. Austin Slater going to the Yankees was another. Feeling good about myself. I'm out reporting like where's Duran going to go? I'm told like he's going to move today, and uh, the sense that I had gotten talking with sources is that Seattle was in the lead for Joan Duran, and I made a critical error. I stopped thinking this is the trade deadline where shit changes all the time, and where all it takes for it to change is the addition of one player to a deal, which is what happened when the Phillies were, the Twins were going around asking essentially for final offers, and Phillies came back with one that beat what the Mariners had. And I had just been waiting, okay, that this is going to get done. Hopefully somebody tells me, and Ken Rosenthal drops a breaking Joan Duran, or I think it was Phillies on the verge of acquiring Joan Duran from the Minnesota Twins. And I was meeting with one of my bosses at the time. Imagine getting punched in the dick when you're meeting with your boss. That is what that felt like right there. It was embarrassing. I felt like I suck at my job. And even though like I know objectively, just based on the history and the number of stories I've gotten and things that I've done right, that I'm pretty good at it. Like I appreciate the work that I do. in that moment, it is just an empty feeling. It is, it will suck all the confidence that you might have had right out of you. It will make you question yourself, question your process, question everything. And considering there were like 60 trades, like when one of them does that to you, that was a big one. So that's why I think it hurt more than others. But uh, that was really hard, and it had me down. I immediately went outside, sat in my car, and just like I didn't cry, but I wanted to. Like, what does this portend for the next 24 hours? Am I really in as good of a position as I need to be going into this time where there are going to be so many trades? And in a way, it refocused me. It made me think, okay, like you need to get all of your ducks in a row. As prepared as you thought you weren't enough. And so you need to double down even more. You need to lean on sources. You need to find out what's actually going on. You like all that you have, all the arrows you have in your quiver, you need to ready for deployment. And the last 24 hours, it was good. Woke up the next morning, got the Mason Miller trade. I don't even remember what happened in the last 2 hours of the deadline. Like I was just sitting there, like over the Baseball Tonight set, right? You got Eduardo Perez, Buster Olney, Kevin Connors, Tim Kirkjian, and I'm off to the side at the kids' table, and it's just like me and a camera. And when I have something, I put my hand up in the air and I wave, and producer gets in my ear and says, "What do you got?" And I say this, and 30 seconds later, Kevin Connors will very smoothly like transition the conversation that they're having on set and throw it over to me. And at the end, like the one thing that I was unhappy about that day was that it was the fucking most uncomfortable chair I've sat in a long time. And remember, like I had a broken back a couple of years ago, so I need to talk with ESPN about getting a more comfortable chair for that set. But otherwise, like the work that day, I was really proud of what we did. I thought our show was excellent. I thought it was informative and had great context. And I don't ever judge myself based on the percentage of scoops I get or stuff like that, because we're all like, so if I don't have it and Ken does, I'll have it less than a minute later, and vice versa. But I felt like I was at a point where I wasn't surprised really by anything that was going on except the Griffin Jacks trade. And being in that place where nothing is surprising you the way that Duran did 24 hours earlier, that's all I can ever really ask for.
Yeah, you were going to have a really comfortable chair until Ken got the Duran trade, and then they switched it out. That was your boss's way of just little reminders, keep you uncomfortable. So.
That's exactly. You know what? Like sometimes discomfort brings out the best in us. I firmly believe that, and I look at I look at some organizations and what they did at the trade deadline, and they were put in uncomfortable positions, and it spurred
For sure.
action.